County View live and uncut. And I'm your host, the guy that tells you 2 and 2 makes 3, your favorite cult of personality, John R. Heinis, talking the latest and greatest in Hudson County news. Unfortunately, we got a little bit of somber news this week. There's been a couple shootings. The one that's getting a lot of people's attention is this 21-year-old man, Demond Murray. His name was Nunu, at least that was his nickname that his friends and family called him. He was gunned down tragically outside a housing authority building on Sunday evening, and just yesterday, a few hours before a balloon rising vigil, they were able to arrest the suspect in Massachusetts. So we're going to tell you about that whole situation, what some members of the council would like to see done in terms of public safety measures, and everything else surrounding the circumstances of that, again, very unfortunate and sad incident. So we're also going to be chatting a little bit about of course, the nitty-gritty politics. So, of course, the 8th District congressional race, we're going to talk about Mayor Ravi Bala and how he's now calling on Governor Phil Murphy to nix that $10.7 billion Turnpike extension plan, which seems unlikely, but he's making that call anyway, and we're going to tell you what exactly has developed and transpired there. Also going to, of course, talk a little bit about Hoboken City Council. You know, they're going to vote on some new art pieces tonight that has some members of the community up in arms. Then we're also going to talk about the Gateway Tunnel project. There's a new report out that has some encouraging numbers. We're also going to chat a little bit about what's happening with the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, the city of Jersey City, and that French museum might be in jeopardy. So we're going to talk about all that and a whole lot more right after this word from our sponsors.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer a Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one pass stop away, or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunnelly Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunnelly Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Hudson County View live and uncut. John R. Heinis. So, you know, let's first talk about what's going on with Demond Murray. Again, this was a guy that was really well liked in the Hoboken community, somebody who worked for the local Board of Education. He looked like he was on his way to become a firefighter. We just learned last night at this vigil. And he was also someone that was a standout high school athlete who excelled at basketball and football, actually was a walk-on football player at Rutgers University. And he took a semester off to help his parents, and due to circumstances that are still unclear, ended up being gunned down in the prime of his life on Sunday night. So just, you know, really, really sad to see and really just sad to hear. Not much else I could say there. But just a couple hours before this balloon rising vigil took place, we did hear from the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office, and we find out that Albert Morales, he's 33 of North Bergen, ended up being charged with the murder and is facing weapons charges as well, obviously. And he was actually arrested, though, in Chicopee, Massachusetts by members of the Massachusetts State Police, and he's going to remain in custody pending extradition to New Jersey. And a source with knowledge of the situation tells me, this was subsequently after the story came out, that actually he ended up being caught because he left his cell phone on. So that's an interesting turn of events, certainly, if that is true. But as far as the details of what happened, we're pretty light on them right now, but from what I can tell you, shortly after 11:30 p.m. on Sunday, that was April 28th, the Hoboken Police Department received a call about a shots fired incident in the area of 320 Marshall Drive. And long story short, a 21-year-old man, later identified as Demond Murray, was transported to the Jersey City Medical Center in a private car, and he was pronounced dead just after midnight. So, what their relationship was or why this happened remains very unclear. We're waiting on further details from the HCPO. Certainly as we get them, we will be quick to put them out there. There was quite a number of tributes that I thought were quite compelling. I couldn't really tell you them all in just this 30-minute program, but I could talk about what HHA Chair, that's Hoboken Housing Authority, Barbara Reyes said in a Facebook post. She said, "Earlier on the day of the tragedy, my son and his friends were in the basketball courts with him," meaning Murray, of course, watching him play basketball. They were also begging him to coach them on their flag football team. So for my son to wake up and hear he was gone turned from shock to sadness. David was an example of what a role model should be to our children. As a community, we need to turn this pain into purpose. We need to do better for our children, but this cannot be done with one person alone. It needs to be done as a community. My sincerest condolences go out to the entire family." And Reyes had some, I thought, also very powerful remarks at that vigil last night. I posted them on my Twitter. So, hopefully you check those out. I mean, that was less than an hour ago. Now, related, on the policy side of things, on the governmental side of things, we heard from 3 council members. That was 3rd Ward Councilman Mike Russo, 2nd Ward Councilwoman Tiffany Fisher, and 4th Ward Councilman Ruben Ramos. They're all calling for a local precinct, of course, for the police department, to be at the Hoboken Housing Authority in light of violent crime, including this, but also the last murder, that was Christopher Garcia in September 2022, that also occurred right outside an HHA building. So now we have those calls. The first one to say this was 3rd Ward Councilman Mike Russo, and he said, as councilman and HHA commissioner in Hoboken, and given the increase in crime in the tri-state area, I believe it's time to revisit the use of local precinct ASAP. So he kept it pretty short and sweet. This was something that used to happen over a decade ago, but ended approximately 2016 after the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, many of you know them as HUD, decided that public housing authorities could not pay for this extra security essentially out of their budgets. Now, Fisher, in a response actually on X, on Russo's thread, said the HHA previously gave Hoboken $500K per year to fund it, and then HUD changed the rules and couldn't provide any longer, so Hoboken pulled out. It was one of the first things I faced in my first year on the city council. We definitely should put it back. HHA residents want it. As far as Ramos goes, we chatted a little bit via text, and he said for years we had a local precinct located in the HHA. It's definitely time to revisit that approach. In spite of the city helping to fund nearly 400 cameras throughout the HHA, that isn't enough. We need a proactive, hands-on approach. Now, how realistic is this to return? Well, I guess it looks like it has a shot. I mean, how good of a shot remains unclear, but when I reached out to public safety spokeswoman Marcy Rubin, here's what she said. Mayor Bala and the Public Safety Department are open to any and all ideas to keep residents safe and look forward to discussing the proposals with the City Council and members of public safety. Now, actually, another important point that just happened at this balloon rising last night, we heard from Mayor Ravi Bala for quite a bit, and he had one really powerful portion of his speech I wanted to share. Now, he said, as I mentioned, that Murray wanted to become a firefighter. He said he had a career of public service ahead of him. It's all gone to gun violence. It's all gone to violence. I'm responsible for that. We're responsible for that. We're all responsible for that. As your mayor, I take ownership of what happened because the buck stops with me. So I've got to figure out how to do better. We just got to let love conquer hate and good conquer evil, but it's not easy. So obviously this is something that has people really feeling a certain kind of way. So we're going to see what kind of public safety measures get initiated, if anything, in the aftermath of this, again, just terrible set of circumstances. So with that, folks, we're going to take another quick break. When I come back, I'm going to be joined with Jersey City mayoral candidate Mussab Ali. See you in a few moments.
Good Friend Self Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer a Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one pass stop away, or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunnelly Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and launch inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunnelly Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Hudson County View, live and uncut. John R. Heinis, as I mentioned a few moments ago. Today I'm joined with Jersey City mayoral candidate Mussab Ali, who also used to be a president for the Jersey City Board of Education. Mussab, good to have you.
Good to be here, John. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So, depending who you asked, opportune time to have you, in light of what's happening with Columbia University. A lot of protests related to Gaza, as everyone in the free world knows at this point, getting tons of coverage. And you had a tweet yesterday that said you were extremely disappointed in Congressman Menendez, of course I'm paraphrasing, because he was one of 21 House members to sign a letter to the Columbia Board of Trustees asking to end the encampment immediately or resign. And, obviously, as social media tends to be, lots of colorful responses. But regardless of that fact, why did you feel it was important to call that out the way you did and when you did?
Yeah. Well, listen, I think that we should support people's right to protest. I think that Columbia has a rich tradition of protest. And I think, what really troubled me, it was 21 House Democrats. So the Republicans have already been on this point around, suppressing free speech, quelling free speech, especially in higher education. To have 21 Democrats sign on to that letter, I just think it ramps up this rhetoric and it doesn't cause for de-escalation. We saw what happened last night. You had the NYPD SWAT team, thousands of police officers that descended on this campus. I think the messages of having police brutality on students is not a winning message for Democrats.
All right, pretty simple. So how do you see this playing out? Obviously, doesn't appear that this war is going to end imminently, and barring, something completely beyond our pay grade, I think is safe to say. So, how do you think this plays out all going into the next scholastic year in September?
Look, I don't know how that plays out for schools. I think for me, I've always been someone in support of peace. I think that people should stop killing one another. So that's why I've been advocating for a ceasefire, right? I think that the hostages should be released. I think there should be a ceasefire. I think that there's too many innocent lives that have been lost. And I think that's what students are drawing attention towards. Why are we continuing to fund this war? I think about the hypocrisy of us both giving food to the people in Gaza and then funding the bombs that are being dropped on their heads. It doesn't make any sense as leaders of the free world. I think our moral compass is all over the place here.
Okay. Now, whenever we're talking about the ceasefire thing, obviously it's a touchy subject for a lot of people, but we've seen some places like Union City and North Bergen pass them, and other places like Hoboken and Jersey City have it, and they've said that they won't. Now, one point on the people that think that this is not needed is because it's not like the UN's going to look at the Jersey City Council like, oh, they passed a resolution, let's rethink this. So what do you think is the significance of doing something like that?
Well, look, I think that everyone should be speaking up on this issue. I think that, it's more of a values question, right? What are the values that your city stands for? And I think our city should be in line with Union City and with Weehawken and with North Bergen, saying listen, we want hostilities to end. We want peace, and we want them to negotiate a peace. It's clear the military strategy isn't working, and so we want to move towards a peace and negotiated ceasefire.
All right, very good. So, back on the local front here, right now it's a field of four and it's expected to get bigger. And we talked about this a little bit, right, when you were doing the launch. But just tell me, you're going to be the youngest candidate in the field by far, I think it's pretty safe to say. And you've been out of the public eye for the most part, with a few appearances here and there for the past couple years. Why did you think that this was the right move, and why do you think this is good for Jersey City voters?
Well, look, I think about the average age of a resident in Jersey City. It's about 34. I think about how this city is about 45% first-generation immigrants. I think about how it's the most diverse city in America, with 27% Asian. I think that, look, it's time for our generation to sort of step up. And for me personally, I mean, I've had a lifelong commitment to public service, right? I've been involved in politics since I was a teenager, served on the Board of Education, was the Board of Education president. I went off to Harvard Law School, but I always knew I was going to come back and serve this city, and that's what I'm trying to do. I think that right now, the affordability crisis is really out of control, and I think particularly when it comes to education, I think you need real leadership in City Hall that's also working with the Board of Education to come together for good educational outcomes for our kids.
Sure, and we definitely want to touch on both those topics, and we will. But before we do, one thing that I think a lot of people talked about when you first announced, was that, you're basically like a Bill O'Day protege, and he's already been in the race for a couple of months, and some people feel like this is you kind of kneecapping him. So what do you think about that sort of sentiment that's out there?
Look, I love Bill O'Day. I think he's a great candidate. I don't think that politics is all about gladiators sort of trying to destroy one another. I think it's about elevating good ideas and having conversations. Democracy in terms of elections is all about what are the ideas that you're putting forward. And I think he and I agree on a lot of ideas, and we're sort of elevating one another's. And look, it's a long campaign, so we're just going to continue to work.
Fair enough. Now, when we're talking about education, obviously, from experience, City Hall and the Board of Ed have not collaborated particularly well in recent memory. How do you think you change that, if you could change it at all? And how could you make that an outcome that's beneficial for all students, parents, residents?
Yeah. Well, look, I think I'm somebody who has that experience, firsthand being on the Board of Education. I think there's lots of ways that City Hall can work together with the board, right? When it comes to connections with corporations, when it comes to thinking about philanthropy, when it comes to thinking about the recreational opportunities. Our schools actually should be rec centers for City Hall. The parking lots that our schools have, I mean, these should be places where residents are able to park their cars. I think there's so many potential collaborations that exist, and the fact that these two bodies are at odds with one another, I think is to the detriment of everyone in the city.
Okay. Now, and you also mentioned affordability, and that's probably a longer topic. So hold that thought. We're actually going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Panepinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panepintodevelopment.com. Panepinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Hudson County View live and uncut. John Heinis, and I'm still sitting here with Jersey City mayoral candidate Mussab Ali. So Mussab, now affordability, obviously a lot of people talk about, gentrification here and how people have gotten priced out. And then, people see the Board of Ed budget last week. It comes out flat, meaning no tax increase, of course. And then Mayor Fulop tweeted, I think just on Monday, that the city budget actually is going to be less than 2%. So, a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on what's been going on the past 10 years. But having said that, when we're looking at people being priced out or people, complaining just that they could barely make ends meet, how do you try to rectify the situation?
Look, I think there's a couple things we're going to come out with in our housing policy this month. I think more broadly, though, one of the things we have to think about is what is the housing stock that we're building? And the fact is, we're building mostly luxury units, right? We're not building workforce housing. We're definitely not building enough affordable housing. But even in the affordable housing, one of the first things that I propose that we should do is we should include in our ordinance that when affordable housing is built, Jersey City residents should get first dibs. I mean, it's shocking that that's not already something that pre-exists. But in Newark, they did this resolution where for the first 90 days, only Jersey City residents will be able to apply for the affordable housing. So this helps with the displacement, it helps to maintain community ties. Something else that we need to do is we need to tackle a lot of these private institutional actors that are buying up single-family, multifamily homes. And so something else that I'm proposing is that we should have an LLC transparency bill, so that places like BlackRock and Blackstone that are buying up these homes, you actually have to know who are the owners of these properties. They have to list a name in order for them to get the deed. This is also happening when it comes to, I talk to people who are being evicted from their homes. When there's different LLC landlords that are out of state, they're sort of moving and shifting this LLC ownership and shirking their responsibility as landlords. We need to make sure we know who these people are who are owning our homes and making sure we're enforcing all the different codes that we have. But look, there's a lot of things we have to do in terms of affordability, but I think there is a big pressure on housing. And I've been doing research on housing for the past year. This is what I do at Rutgers Law School. When I was at Harvard Law School, I worked in the housing law clinic, fighting against people who are being evicted from their homes. So I'm someone who's like knee deep in this research and will continue to talk to residents as we go through this campaign.
All right, very good. Now, not anything to do with affordability, but we just saw Friday, there was this big thing about the New Jersey Economic Development Authority coming out and saying the Pompidou doesn't look financially feasible right now. We need another plan. If you can't do something about this $19 million shortfall, then we might have to move on to something else. So what do you think of this project, and do you think this is something you would like to see move forward under your administration?
Look, I'm not the biggest opponent of the Pompidou, but I think generally as a city, when you're thinking about development, you have to be thinking about who are you developing for, right? Like when you're putting a French museum in the middle of Jersey City, is that for the residents of Jersey City, or is that for a conventional resident that you think about from somebody else? From somewhere else. And so I think that it's really important to talk to residents about what are the needs in our community, right? What are the things that they need? And for me, growing up here, I don't see a French museum as something that people of Jersey City are really clamoring for. I think there's lots of different ways to even integrate the art community here in Jersey City. We're talking about the millions of dollars that have to be spent. I just don't know if that's something that we can afford. But if we are building towards the art scene, why don't we reinstill a Jersey City Arts Museum? Why don't we invest in the arts community that's here instead of importing something from Europe?
A novel concept. So now, talking back at the Board of Education for a moment, if I may, now when you're looking at this whole thing that's been transpiring since the end of February, with the former president, Natalia Ayufi, and then the new president, Dejan Morris, and then the vice president and not vice president, Eunice Barkuch, and the whole thing with Eid, we could go on for a really long time that exceeds half an hour. What do you think of everything that's transpiring, and if you were still there, or if you were in the mayor's seat even, one or the other, how would you navigate through these waters?
Well, look, when we were on the Board of Education, we had a very different set of circumstances, right? We were in the middle of the pandemic. We had a $70 million cut from the governor's office, and we were fighting to reopen our schools. I was also dealing with a personal health crisis. We couldn't afford to just have this politics in terms of Game of Thrones and who's going to hold the crown. We had to really work towards issues, and we had a lot of initiatives that we launched. We canceled student lunch debt. We increased minimum wages. We started a participatory budgeting project. And so I think this Board of Ed needs to go back to focusing on ideas instead of focusing on the power politics of who's in charge.
That makes sense, oddly. So now another thing about the politics of the mayoral, now obviously former Governor McGreevy's done a great job fundraising. It's got, give or take, about $1.4 million to date. Certainly he's spending a lot. But a lot of people are like, look, this guy's got the HCDO, and he's got the Middlesex Dems, and probably the Trenton Dems too, and he's just going to walk in. Why do you think that's not the case?
Well, look, I think it's very important to send a message about people from here leading here. And I think for me, what's so powerful is I did a career day at Hudson County Schools of Technology on Friday. And when I was there, a 15-year-old student asked me about my mayoral campaign. And at first I was like, look, man, it's great that you're involved in politics, but most people here are not here to talk about this. We're here to talk about something else. Of that class of 25 that I had, 15 students had watched our video and were invested in our campaign. I think it's so important to empower that next generation to know that you can be from Jersey City and you can lead as someone from this town. And so that's the message that I'm bringing to people, and I think people resonate with that a lot more than this idea of second chances, right? What about my first chance? What about people from this town that have grown up here that want to invest and give back? So I think that, look, Mr. McGreevy is a great candidate, but I think people in the city can differentiate the messages.
All right, well, point taken. And finally, Mussab, now when you're looking at the Fulop administration, and what's one thing that you think, yeah, this is really good and I want to expand upon that, and what's one thing where I'm like, this is really terrible, we got to just pump the brakes on that and halt it completely?
Look, I think the Fulop administration has done a good job of bringing in investment to the city. I think that there is a lot of capital investment that's taking place here. But I think at the same time, I think there is this big gap between how we're investing in some parts of town versus other parts of town. And I really think the young people are being left behind. I thought I was actually a beneficiary of the Jersey City Summer Internship Program, JCSI. And after the pandemic, that program never came back. In terms of opportunities for our young people, we don't need them to just be, picking up trash and doing litter programs over the summer. We need to really invest in giving them skills. And I think the city can play a big role in that.
Mussab, any closing thoughts?
Well, look, I just think that, for us, our campaign is about championing Jersey City for all. And I feel so fortunate to have been somebody who grew up in the city, have been trusted by the city. And I owe a lot of my success to the people of the city. And I'm just here to give back.
Very good. Thanks for coming in, my friend. We'll
Thanks, Tom.
certainly be talking. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. We're not done yet. We got one more segment right after this break.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Good Friend Self Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunnelly Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunnelly Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one pass stop away, or a quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights. Your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments. Carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants. All major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-27.
Hudson County View live on a cut. John Heinis. A couple more before we let you guys go this week. So let's talk about the Regional Plan Association. You might be saying, what the heck is that? Because I know I was. But they look at these large projects and investments, of course, on the transportation sector largely, throughout the country. And basically for this one, we looked at the Hudson Tunnel project, which we know is going to pass through North Hudson, and it's going to connect Hudson County with, and also part of Newark, into Manhattan with this new tunnel. So basically the report says that this is going to generate $19.6 billion in economic activity and approximately 95,000 jobs, and that's 20,000 more than what was initially projected. So obviously that's pretty good news. And specifically, right now they also mentioned that roughly $1 billion in contracts have been awarded, and out of that pot, that'll yield 7,500 jobs and $625 million off of labor income. And now, mind you, this is not a cheap investment. This is a $16 billion project, and that includes anyone ranging from the state of New Jersey and the state of New York to the Port Authority, all giving different pots of money, mostly in the billions. So, with that said, for every individual dollar invested in public transportation, our economy sees a return of $4 in additional economic output, resulting in more jobs and higher incomes. The Tunnel project will realize these long-term benefits by shortening travel times, increasing worker productivity, expanding the number of jobs that are accessible to residents of the region, the size of the workforce that employers can draw from. Tunnelly Avenue Bridge and Utility Relocation Project, that's of course in North Bergen, will open up construction access, enabling the new tunnel portal to connect to the New Jersey Palisades, as well as make for the tunnel boring machines to dig through the Palisades portion of the route. And there are two other major portions of the project going on right now. They're both in Manhattan, though. Hudson Yards Concrete Casing Section 3, Hudson River Ground Stabilization. So I think that one mostly speaks for itself. So we'll go on to the NJEDA and the Pompidou. Now, this project is moving largely through the Jersey City Redevelopment Authority, even though mostly you've heard Mayor Fulop talk about it, but it's going through the JCRA. And the head of the NJEDA, that's Tim Sullivan, wrote a letter to Diana Jeffrey, who is the executive director of the JCRA. This was on Friday. It basically said we need a new plan, like a new updated sheet of how this is going to work out, because right now there's a $19 million shortfall. If you don't fix it, we might have to put those funds elsewhere. His exact words, while we are eager to continue working with you on the CP by NJ project, which is Center Pompidou by New Jersey project, the annual operating gap remains too significant to release any funding at this time. And he continued that the $34 million in NJEDA funds allocated to the project has been withheld to date due to the lack of balanced sources and uses and operating plan. And without doing so, the state's going to move on to something else. So Mayor Stephen Fulop, I'm sure you guys saw, came out and said that this was pure retaliation for him endorsing U.S. Rep. Andy Kim over First Lady Tammy Murphy. The governor, in an unrelated press event yesterday, denied that there was any correlation. Speaking of Fulop in Jersey City, just very quickly, he had a Senate meet and greet, basically like a Q&A, specifically called it a town hall. And that had Andy Kim, Patricia Campos-Medina, and Larry Ham. And that concluded this week with Larry Ham. And also there was a Senate forum in Jersey City on Friday that was put together by the Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. So with that, folks, we're going to let you go. We'll see you next week.